Hey everyone, this is Dhruvin, and in this session we are going to talk about one of the interesting concepts in Power Apps. We are going to build responsive canvas app with containers and screen templates. So let's get started. Microsoft recently introduced the concept of containers for responsive canvas app design. At this moment, we have horizontal and vertical container in place at this moment, and it introduces three different screen layout for responsive canvas app design. During this entire session, first of all, I will give you what is container, how we can use horizontal and vertical container, and how we can leverage the different properties of horizontal and vertical container in detail. Once we do that, we are going to build our own custom template for responsive design. As you can see that on my screen, we are going to build this type of Power Apps canvas app in which we have this type of grid on the left hand side. Whenever user click on any of the grid option, its edit form will be displayed over here automatically. We have one header section, one form section, and one footer section over here. And let's say whenever we increase or decrease the browser width, it will automatically change its position, meaning the app would be 100% responsive. So how can we build this type of responsive screen template using containers? We are going to talk about that thing as well in detail throughout this session. So now, without wasting much time, let's get started with our first concept of the session, which is containers. So first of all, let me create a blank canvas app from the scratch, and let me show you each individual step in detail. First of all, create a canvas app from the blank. So I'm going to create a canvas app for tablet layout, and I am just going to give my canvas app name as YouTube demo. Remember one thing, this feature is in preview at this moment, so we make sure that you enable the preview feature from your app. For that, go to the file menu, go to the advanced setting, and here we have the preview features available. Just search for containers. So here you will be finding an option layout containers. It is turned on for all the new apps that you are going to create. So make sure that this feature is turned on. For all the existing apps which we have already created in this tenant before this feature has been rolled out, for that this feature has been turned off. So if you want to make those apps responsive, you need to turn on this feature. This is first thing. Second thing is that this is a very important step. Go to screen size and orientation step from here. Now here we have an option scale to fit. You just need to turn off this option. This is the very important step. And now just click on apply. Now what happen here is whenever you play this app, you will be having this type of option. Now earlier what happened here is if we want to check responsiveness of our app, we need to publish our app and then we are able to check. But now with this new update, this new feature has been rolled out like this one. So if you want to go to your previous experience, you just need to click on this canvas size. Otherwise we are good with this windows size. And what happen here is you can easily test the responsiveness by changing your browser size. So this is the first important feature that you need to enable preview feature, as well as you need to turn off scale to fit option. Now let's go with the second step. What is container and how it is useful and what are the different properties of the container? Let me explain you that thing. So this is our blank screen. Let me just zoom in a little bit. First of all, to add the container in your Power Apps, click on insert option. Here expand the layout option. Here you will be finding two options, horizontal container and vertical container. At this moment these two containers are provided here. Now let's add one horizontal container on your screen. So this will add this type of horizontal container on the screen. Let's make its width as parent.width. So let's change the width of this container first. So I'm just changing the width as parent.width. So this is one container that is being added on the screen. Now horizontal container will place all the controls horizontally on the screen. Now let me add few controls into this particular container. So let me just click on add an item from insert pane, or you can just go to the insert. Let me just add one label inside the container. Let me add one button. Let me add one date picker. Let me add one toggle button. So I have added 4 different controls on my screen at this moment. Now let me explain you the properties of this particular container. So container is something which provide you a space where you can place the different object. So you can see that we have added horizontal container. So you have seen that all the controls added horizontally over here like this. Now let me add one vertical container as well, and let me explain you how the controls are placed into the vertical container. So just go to the insert option again, expand the layout option and add vertical container. So the container has been added. Now let me just add few controls within my container. So similar way, let me just add one label, let me just add one button, let me just add one date picker, and same way let's add one toggle switch. So you have seen that this controls has been added vertically inside the container. So vertical container will add the controls vertically. Now let me go with each individual property of horizontal and vertical container. Let's go to our tree view. Now let me select this container 1 from here. Now here we have the different properties available. The first property is direction. So this will identify the direction of the container. So this is the horizontal container. So the direction is horizontal. You can see its symbol as well. So symbol represent that your controls are going to add horizontally like this. Now second property is justify horizontal. So here we have 3 different options. Justify start. So if we place justify start, what happen here is it will start all the controls from the starting position. Second is justify center. So you can see that the position has been changed with this justify center. Same way, third option is justify end. So it will start the control position from the end of the container. And at last we have an option space between. So if we select this option, you can see that all controls have equal space in between their place. So this is the justify horizontal property. Now then the second property is align vertical, meaning it will set the vertical position of the control. So the first option is start. So it will set from the start. So it will place all the controls from the container from the top, then center like this, then from end like this, and let's say if you are using stretch option, so it will occupy all the height vertically for the controls. So this is the alignment property. Now let me just start from the start and let me just place justify from start. The fourth property is gap property. Now what do we mean by gap? So let's say for an example we have placed 4 different controls on this container, and now what I want to do here is I want to have some space in between all the controls. So how can I do that? For that we need to provide gap. Let's say I want to have 20 pixel in between all the controls. So I just place gap control, and you can see that from every control 20 pixel space has been added. Then fifth property is horizontal overflow. So at this moment there are 2 options, hide and scroll. Now let's see how it is working. Let me just change its property as scroll. So what happen here is if we decrease the width of the container, so that will add one horizontal scroll for the control like this. So this is horizontal overflow. Vertical overflow is something which I will recommend to use for the vertical container. So let's skip this property at this moment. Now wrap option. Now let me just turn on this wrap option. So what the wrap option will do is, let's say if we decrease the width of this particular container, so what happen here is whenever it doesn't have a space for the control, it will automatically wrap that control vertically like this, right? So this is the wrap property. Let me just turn off this wrap property. Then other options are similar like the regular property that we have for the other power-ups control. So I'm not going to talk more about this thing. Now let's talk about the properties for the vertical container. So I'm selecting this vertical container. Same way, the first property direction. So direction of this container is vertical. Then the property is justify vertical. In this particular horizontal container, it was justify horizontal. So similar way, we can try three different properties like this: start, justify center, justify end, and same way space between like this. Same way, let's say alignment horizontal, which will also same. You can see the position of the controls are being changed like this. Similar way, gap property, so that will add the vertical space in between the control. So let's say I want to add 50 pixel size. So you can see that after every control 50 pixel vertical space has been added. Now horizontal overflow, which we have discussed for the horizontal container. Now here we are talking about the vertical container, so we just need to have scroll option for our vertical container. Now let's say if I'm decreasing the height of my container, then what happen here is it will add the vertical scroll like this. Now let me talk about the another property, wrap property. So wrap property will wrap the controls. If there is no space provided vertically, it will place the control horizontally like this. So this is how the properties for vertical control will look like. So we have discussed about all the properties of horizontal and vertical container. Now whenever we place our control inside the container, each control has their own individual properties as well. Now let me talk about those individual properties of the controls. Now first of all, let me go to the horizontal container. Now let me do one thing. Let me just remove this gap from here so we will understand better. And let me just decrease the width of the canvas. Yeah. Now what I want to do here is let me just catch up this button. Now whenever we select any control from the container, we would be having this many of properties. The first one is align in container. So by default what happen here is whenever we place any control inside the container, its alignment has been set by its container. Now let's say if you want to change the alignment for this particular specific control, you can just use this option. Let's say I just wanted to place this button at the end like this. So I just need to select this option. So what happen here is it will automatically change the drop down value as custom from here. So this is one property. So you can change the controls alignment using this property, right? Let's keep that as it is. The second option is flexible width. Now what do we mean by flexible width? As you can see that this is my container, and at this moment 4 controls has been placed horizontally like this. Now this many of space is something which is no in use at this moment. Now if I'm using flexible width as turn on, what happen here is that control will automatically capture all the available space from this particular horizontal container. So you can see that flexible width will automatically occupy all the space for the button control, because I have turned on this feature for this particular button only. Now once we enable this flexible width, it will automatically enable one more property, which is fill portions. Now what do we mean by fill portions? Let me explain you. So let me do one thing to demonstrate this feature. So let me just turn on the flexible width for all the control, and then we will see the difference. So let me just turn on the flexible width for the label. Then let me turn on for date picker, and same way let's turn on for this particular toggle option as well. Now you can see that everything is divided into 4 equal parts. Now I wanted to have a functionality like my button should always occupy 3 times more space than the other control. Then how can I do that? So let's consider this entire container's width as 1. But for this one I need 3 times more space. So I need to select the button control. Then from fill portion I need 3 parts from this entire container. So I just need to type 3 over here. So what it will write here, you can see that it is occupying 3 times more space than the other control. Now for this control, it will automatically occupy 1 time space. This is 1 time, this is 1 time. 1, 1, 2, 3 and 3, 6. So total it divides the entire container into 6 different parts because this require 3 times more space and this require 1 time space, right? This so this is the property of fill portion. Now minimum width. Now what do we mean by minimum width? Minimum width is that is 160 for this button. Now let me just make sure that container width has been set as parent.width, so we can taste that properly. So this has been added and now let's taste. Now let's say I'm decreasing this particular width of this container. So you can see that this 3 times button width is also being changed accordingly as I'm moving my window width. Now what happened here is, let's say I'm decreasing like this and its minimum width reach to this particular point which is mentioned. So even if we decrease the width of this window, minimum width will override this fill portion property over here. So minimum width is something which mean that whatever the window size would be, it should occupy this many of width. So these are the individual properties controlled inside the horizontal container. Hope this is clear for you now. Now let me talk about the individual property for the vertical container. So the first property is align in the container, which is similar like the horizontal containers property. You can change individual controls position using this particular property. Now flexible height. So once we turn on, it will occupy all the available space vertically for that particular control. Now once we enable, fill portions is being enabled here, right? So to demonstrate, let's enable the flexible height for all the containers like this. So it will occupy all the available space equally in the container. Now I wanted a functionality like button should occupy 3 times more height than the other control. Then what I need to do here is need to select button and I just need to select 3. So it will automatically calculate the summation 3 times. It will divide the entire height into 6 part because 1, 3, 1, 1. So 3 plus 1, 4 plus 1, 5 plus 1, 6, right? So this will like this. And minimum height, so whatever the height that we decrease or increase from the window, it should at least take this minimum height for this control. So it defines that property. So these are the different property that is available for the individual control from the container. So far we have discussed about the containers property as well as controls within the containers property. Hope this is clear for you now so far. If you have any question, put out your question in the comment section so I'm clear out those questions for you. Now we are going to discuss third part of this session, means we are going to talk about how we can create the page template using this container. So we are going to create this type of canvas app where I have the left section, right section. In right section I have another 3 section, header, footer and form section. So how we can create this type of template with the help of containers. Now I'm going to explain this thing, and at last we are going to talk about different out of the box screen template available. But first let's create our own custom template with the help of containers. So now let me first explain you some theoretical part of how we can create this type of container, and then we are going to create this particular container practically in the blank app. Now let's say we want to create this type of responsive canvas app into our screen. Let's say for an example, this side we have one gallery control, and this side we would be having one header section, one footer section, and one form section. So the first thing that we need to decide here, which container do we need to use here? So that is the first point. We have already explained that when to use horizontal container and when to use vertical container. So let's say for an example, when you want to place controls horizontally, you need to choose horizontal container, and when you want to place your controls vertically, you need to choose vertical container. Let me just explain you with the help of example. So let's say for an example, first of all, there would be one main container, that is the root container, that should be horizontal container, right? So this main container should be horizontal. Then we need to divide that container into two different parts. So let me just pick up one another color. Let me take this orange color. So I need to place this control like this and another control like this. So these two should be vertical container. So let's provide vertical container and vertical container. Right now I want to define header inside this vertical container. So this is one container, inside that there are two containers, so there is a nesting of container. Now from this vertical container we wanted to have another three container, so let's add one more nest over here. So let's say first of all I'm going to add one header. So in header I want to place all the controls horizontally, so I will take this container as horizontal container. Same way, let's say I want to have my form container, which should be vertical because all the controls vertically placed to each other. So I will just use the vertical container. So let me just create this vertical container, and at last I would be having one last container, that is my footer container. So let me just create one more control in which I just need to place labels vertically. So I am just making this container as vertical container. So this is the overall structure idea that we need to consider in our mind before we go with the responsive app design, right? So first of all, keep this structure in your mind. Now the second step is that we need to roughly design all the container. Now the width of this entire screen is considered as parent dot width, meaning your app's width. Now this particular section will take 1/3 portion of my width, and this entire section will occupy 2/3 of my section. So the width of this section is parent dot width divided by 3, and same way for this section the width should be parent dot width multiplied by 2 cross 3. It will occupy 2/3 place, and it will occupy 1/3 place, right? So this is the thing that we need to keep in mind. Now let me get started for creating your own custom template for the responsive app design. Let me create a new screen for you first. I created blank screen. Now as per the chart, first of all we need to define one horizontal container. So let's create one horizontal container. Go to the insert option, expand layout, and create horizontal container. Place that. Now let's change its width and height property. Go to the width. Its width should be parent dot width. Same way its height should be parent dot height. So we have we have placed this horizontal container. Go to the tree view and let's see, the container 4 has been placed. So this is my root container. Let's rename the container as root. Now we need to place some child element inside this root container. So let me open this screen. We are going to place two vertical containers. One is this one and one is this one. Right? So let's place the container. Insert option. Let's place the vertical container. This is the first vertical container. So whenever you add this vertical container inside this one, the flexible weight is automatically turned on. So make sure that you turn off this particular thing. And now its weight should be parent divided by 3. So just select your container. Just go to the width property. Width should be parent divided by 3. Parent.width divided by 3. And height should be parent.height, because we do not have any mind about height. Now let's place one more vertical container here for this section. So I'm clicking here and placing one more vertical container. Its width should be parent cross 2 by 3. So set the width property. Parent dot width multiply by 2 cross 3, and height parent dot height. Perfect. So we have reached up to this structure. So let's just rename that as left and right. Left, and this is right. Now in right section we need to add more 3 containers. The first one is for header, second one is for form, and third one is for footer. So let's add that. Now for this particular header we want to add horizontal container like this. So let's add one horizontal container. So it has been added, and let's turn off its flexible height from here. So this will add this container. And now what I want to do here is I just wanted to make its width as parent.width. So go to the width and type parent.width. Now I want to add one more container for this particular form section. So let me just select this right container. Let me add one more vertical container as we defined here in the screen, because I want to place all the controls vertically. So let's add the vertical container. Let's provide its width as parent.width, and let me just turn off its flexible width. And at last we want to add one footer control. So I'm again selecting the right container, and let me add one more vertical container here, and let me just change its width as parent.width, right? And let me just turn off its flexible height. So the container will be looking like this. Now let me do one thing. Now we need to set the height for these containers. So let's consider flexible height as turn on for all 3. So it will equally occupy the space for right hand side section. Now what I want to do here is I want to have more space for this particular middle section, because header and footer will be occupy less space and this will occupy some more space. So let's consider like this height should be around 768. So I need 100 pixel for the first and last one, but I need around 500 pixel for this one. So what I want to have here is, let's say we need to consider fill portion section. So at this moment it is occupying one of 3, so it is equally divided into 3 parts. Now I need 4 times more space than the first and last container. So I am typing here 4 of 6. So 4 plus 1 5 plus 1 6, right? So this is the space for the header and this is the space for the footer. So we just need to use this concept over here to design this template. right? So we have designed this structure. Let's go to the screen and let's just rename this. So this is the header, this is the footer, and this is the form container. So hope so far you are good. So you have successfully designed your screen with the help of container. Now we need to place different elements inside our screen. Now I am going to explain this thing to you in detail. First of all, select your left hand side section where I want to place one gallery control. So I am selecting this control and let me add one blank vertical gallery. So I just added this gallery over here. Now first of all, what I want to do here is I just wanted to define the width of this particular gallery. So width should be parent.width. So we just need to define parent.width. Now we just need to establish the list connection. So I'm just going to the data section and I'm just going to create one SharePoint list connection over here. I'm simply using this list, and now I'm adding few labels inside this particular gallery. So I'm just adding some labels. Let me just arrange these labels. Now let's set its property. So let me just give the data source as leaves list. So this will add this many of fields here. Now let me do one thing. Let me just set the width of each individual label as parent.width. So I'm going here, I'm selecting width property and I'm selecting parent.width from here, so it will be responsive by nature. Now what I want to do here is I just wanted to have this start date and end date to the single field. So I'm just going here, going to the text property, then I'm just using concatenated operation and this item dot end date. So I will be having some more space for the second property. Now here I just want to show the status of the leave. So I'm just selecting this item dot status dot value, right? So this is something that we can create. And one more important thing that I want to have here is, let's say I want to have this pending field just beside the name of the requester. So let me just change the width of this container, parent.width divided by 2, and same way for this one, parent.width divided by 2. And now I just want to change the position from here to here. So let's copy this particular label, which is labels ID, which is label 5. So what would be its x position? Its x position would be this label's x plus this label's width. So we will be getting the x position of that one. So label 5 dot x plus label 5 dot width. So here, and y should be that label's y. Right, so we have set this status over here like this. Now let me just decrease the template size a little bit, around 200 pixel. And now let me just wanted to have a template fill as well. So let's say if this item is selected, then the color should be this one, otherwise this one. So we need to define the template fill property for that particular gallery. So let's remove this code. If this item dot selected then the color should be light coral, otherwise the color should be light blue, right? So this will be looking like this. Now Let's check its responsiveness. This is fully responsive, and whenever we are decreasing the width, you can see that these two labels are also changing its position according to it, like this. Now what I want to do here is I just wanted to add one header above this particular gallery. So I'm just selecting this container, as this is the vertical container. We just need to add one label here, and that will add that label here. Let me just arrange that, move to top, so it will add at the top. And let me just give the text as my leaves, right? And now let me just increase the font little bit, and let me just set the background color as orange. And now let me just set the font color as white, and same way let me just increase the width. So I'm selecting this one, I'm going here and selecting width, and let's set parent.width. So this section has been completely prepared. Now similar way we need to prepare header and footer. Before we do that, let's add the form control. So go to the form, from here select edit form, so that will add this control. Now go to the width property and set the width as parent.width. Now let's provide the data source, so leaves list. So this has added. Let's remove this control, and now let me do one more thing here. Let me just add one save button. So I'm just adding the button, so it will add this button automatically here because this is the vertical container. Let's decide its position as center, and let's just rename as save button, and let's just write a function on the save button, that is submit form. Right, now let's define the container's background color. So I'm selecting this form container, and now I'm just defining its color. Let me just define its color around this type of sky blue. And now we need to add a code in items command of form, because we wanted to open that edit form. So let's just go to the item and let's add gallery dot selected. So whatever the item that has been selected, it will automatically change its value over here like this. Right, now I want to create one footer control where I would be having the name of the app, as well as I wanted to have one plus icon. So how can I do that? So just select your header container. Now let's just define the color of the container first. So I wanted to have the container color as blue, like this. Now I wanted to add one label control, and this is the horizontal container, so it will place all the controls horizontally here. And now I wanted to place one plus icon, so I'm just adding one plus icon, so it will add like this. Now I wanted to have the flexible width for both the control, so I'm just turn on the flexible width, so you can see that it equally takes the equal space here. Now one more thing, I wanted to have this particular label should occupy more space, so I am just having like this should occupy 4 times more space than the plus icon, so I'm just typing 4 here, and this will occupy 1 time space. And this should have this stretch option as well, this should also have stretch option. And now let's just change the font colors. So you understand that how I use this concept very easily in order to prepare this particular responsive app. And now I'm just adding the text here as leave application, and I wanted to have font as center align, and font size should be 25. So this is how the header has been prepared. Now same way I wanted to have footer icon. So basically this is the vertical container, so this will add my controls vertically. So I wanted to add two labels here. Basically I just wanted to write an information that this app is developed by me and you can contact on this email address. So I just took this label, and now first of all I will change its width. So its width should be parent.width. So just go to the width, and width should be parent.width. Right now let's define the color for the container. So I just wanted to define the color as light green like this, and now I just wanted to have the flexible height as turn on. So let's turn on the flexible height for both the thing, and it should be equal, that is right. And now let's change the font developed by, right, and now I just wanted to change the font 15, make it to central line. And now if anyone want to contact me, they can contact me at my email address, contact me. So that is my contact email. So if you have any question, you can also contact me on the same email. So this is how we have prepared our responsive canvas app. So and here we are ready. Now on the plus icon I just want to initialize this form, so I just need to write on select event for this particular button. Select the icon, go to the on select and just write reset form, and then initialize the new form. Now let's check the application. So you can see that whenever I'm clicking here, it is initializing this form. Now let's say I'm clicking here anything, I want to initialize the edit form as well. So on select event of this item, I just need to write on select. I just need to initialize edit form. So I'm selecting this one, and you will be having the edit form available. Right now let's check its responsiveness. So I'm just changing the browser position. Let me just move like this. Now let me decrease the width, so you can see that everything is changing based on the responsiveness. You can see that the form, now the field has been, now this particular field is automatically gone down. Now let me just decrease the width a little bit, and you can see that now it has a single column form like this, and everything stretched automatically based on the width of this window. Let me just go to the 100%, so you will be getting better idea. So this will be looking like this. So this is how you can prepare the responsive canvas app with the help of containers. So this is how we have created our own custom template for the screen. Now let me talk about some out of the box screen container which are available. So let me talk about that thing in detail. Let me go to the new screen, and let me select the first screen template, which is split screen. Let's select that one. So basically it will provide you two screens over here. The first one is horizontal container and another is two vertical containers, right? So you can place any components over here. Second is sidebar. So that will provide you one left navigation, one header and one form section. So your root container would be the horizontal, your inner container will be two vertical section, and inside vertical you will be having one horizontal and one vertical container, right? And third one is header, main section and footer. So the main container would be the vertical container, and the another one is horizontal, vertical and horizontal, right? So based on your requirement you can create your own custom container as well that I've explained. Otherwise you can use these out of the box containers which are available, and you can place your different elements within it. So hope this is clear for you now. Hope you have enjoyed this session and you learn each aspects of the responsive container in Power Apps. If you have any question, do write me in the comment section. I would happy to answer your question. Also, one important thing I want to add here, that I am going to provide the code of this particular app to my GitHub account. You can directly download that code and you can check the responsive app over there. So just check out my GitHub account. Link is always down below in the description box. If you are for the first time to my channel, make sure you hit subscribe and press the bell notification to never miss any updates from my channel. I am uploading different Power Platform related video every day on my channel. If you have request about any new concept in Power Platform, just add your request in the comment section, and based on that I will prepare a separate video on the same. Stay tuned with me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter and WhatsApp. If you wish to receive the daily notification about all my new videos from my WhatsApp, click on this link. It will be redirecting you to this form. Fill the form and you will be receiving daily notification about all my new updates on your WhatsApp number. If you wish to listen different podcasts from my channel, click on this link. It will be redirecting you to my podcast channel. Just go there and listen your favorite Power Platform related podcast on the different podcast platform like Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify and lots more. Stay tuned with me. This is Dhruvin signing off. Have a great day. Goodbye.